The war was finally over. Jake Morrison stood at the Earth's spaceport, watching families reunite with their loved ones. Soldiers hugged their parents, kissed their wives, and lifted their children into the air. Jake watched them all with empty eyes. He had no one waiting for him. His parents had died 3 years ago, while he fought on distant planets. The letter telling him about their deaths had reached him 6 months late. Jake picked up his single duffel bag and walked toward the exit. 5 years of war, and this was all he had to show for it. A bag of clothes, a chest full of medals he didn't want, and memories he wished he could forget. "Captain Morrison?" A young officer stepped in front of him. She looked nervous, checking her tablet twice before speaking again. "Sir, you need to report to Building 7 before you leave." "What for?" Jake asked tiredly. "There's something waiting for you, sir. A war reparation from the Cryan government." The officer's face turned red, and she wouldn't meet his eyes. Jake's stomach dropped. He had heard the rumors. The Cryans were sending gifts to human officers, but he had hoped the rumors were lies. He didn't want anything from the people who had killed so many of his friends. Building 7 was quiet and empty. Inside, a man in a coalition uniform sat behind a desk. He looked angry about something. Behind him stood a girl. No, not a girl, an alien. Jake stopped walking and stared. She was humanoid, shaped like a human woman, but clearly not human. Her skin was pale blue, with silver markings running down her arms like tattoos. Her eyes were completely black, no white parts at all, and they were slightly too large for her face. She wore a simple gray dress that looked too big for her thin body. She kept her head down, staring at the floor. "Captain Morrison," the man said coldly, "I'm Commander Hayes. I'm here to transfer custody of this Valkyrie female to you. Her designation is Lyria." "Custody?" Jake repeated. The word felt wrong in his mouth. "What are you talking about?" Commander Hayes sighed like he had explained this 100 times today. "The Cryan Empire has provided war prizes to all human officers who served with distinction. This is their custom, a sign of respect and submission. She comes with full documentation and a compliance implant. Everything is legal under the treaty terms." Jake felt sick. "This is slavery," he said flatly. "It's complicated," Hayes replied. "The Valkyrie were subjects of the Cryan Empire. This is how their culture works. We can't refuse without causing a diplomatic incident. The war just ended, Captain. Nobody wants to start another one." "Then send her back," Jake said. Hayes shook his head. "If you refuse her, she gets reassigned, probably to a Cryan overseer or a labor camp. Is that what you want?" Jake looked at Lyria again. She was shaking slightly, her thin shoulders trembling under the gray dress. She still hadn't looked up or spoken. He felt trapped. Every part of him wanted to refuse, to walk away, but Hayes was right. If he left her here, things would be worse for her. "What happens if I take her?" Jake asked quietly. "She's registered to you. You're responsible for her. That's it." Hayes pushed a tablet across the desk. "Sign here." Jake's hand shook as he signed the screen. He felt like he was signing something terrible, something he would regret forever. Hayes stood up quickly. "She understands basic English. The implant ensures compliance with direct orders. Good luck, Captain." He walked out without another word, leaving Jake alone with Lyria. Jake cleared his throat. "Come on," he said quietly. "Let's go." Lyria followed him without speaking. She walked 3 steps behind him all the way to the parking lot. She climbed into his car silently when he opened the door. During the entire drive to his apartment, she didn't make a single sound. Jake's apartment was small but clean. 1 bedroom, a tiny kitchen, a bathroom, and a living room with an old couch. He dropped his bag by the door and turned to face Lyria. She stood perfectly still, waiting. "Are you hungry?" he asked. She didn't respond. She just waited, like a statue. Jake realized she was waiting for orders. The thought made him angry, but not at her. "The bedroom is yours," he said, pointing. "I'll sleep on the couch. There's food in the kitchen. Take whatever you want. The bathroom is through there. Use whatever you need." Lyria looked confused. Her black eyes finally met his for the first time. "I don't understand," she said softly. Her voice was strange, musical, with an accent he couldn't place. "What don't you understand?" Jake asked. "Where do you want me to sleep?" "In the bedroom, I told you." "But where will you use me?" The question was matter of fact, like she was asking about the weather. Jake's chest tightened. "I'm not going to use you," he said firmly. "You're not my property. You're a person. This is your home now, too. You can do whatever you want." Lyria stared at him like he was speaking a foreign language. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Finally, she whispered, "I don't understand." "You will," Jake said. "Just give it time. For now, get some rest. You look exhausted." Lyria nodded slowly and walked to the bedroom. She closed the door softly behind her. Jake collapsed on the couch and covered his face with his hands. What had he just done? He had no idea how to handle this situation. He had no idea how to help her. He just knew he couldn't let her suffer anymore. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the war and everything he had lost. Around midnight, he heard a sound from the bedroom, a voice. Lyria was talking in her sleep. Jake got up quietly and moved closer to the bedroom door. He pressed his ear against it and listened. Lyria was speaking in her own language, fast and urgent. He couldn't understand the words, but something about the rhythm was familiar. It sounded like codes, military codes, the kind pilots used to communicate during combat. Jake's blood ran cold. Who was this girl, and what secrets was she hiding?
3 days had passed since Lyria came to live with Jake. She barely spoke. She barely ate. Every morning Jake woke to find her sitting perfectly still on the bedroom floor, staring at nothing. It broke his heart. On the 4th morning, Jake made breakfast, eggs, toast, and coffee. He set a plate in front of Lyria at the small kitchen table. "You need to eat," he said gently. "You're getting too thin." Lyria looked at the food with those huge black eyes. "Why are you kind to me?" she asked suddenly. Jake sat down across from her. "Because kindness doesn't need a reason. You're a person. You deserve to be treated well." "The Cryans said humans were weak because of kindness," Lyria whispered. "They said your species would lose the war because you cared too much." "Well, we won," Jake said with a small smile, "so maybe caring is actually strength." Lyria picked up the fork slowly, like she was learning how to use it for the first time. She took a bite of eggs, and her eyes widened. "This is good," she said, surprised. "You sound shocked," Jake laughed. "The Cryans fed us nutrient paste, gray, tasteless. This is different." She took another bite, then another. Soon she was eating quickly, hungrily. When she finished, she looked at Jake with something close to a smile. "Thank you." It was the first time Jake had seen any emotion on her face. It made her look younger, more human. "You're welcome," he said softly. That afternoon, Jake went to the store to buy more food. When he returned, he found Lyria standing in front of his old computer. The screen was on, showing news articles about the war. Her hand was frozen over the keyboard, trembling. "Lyria, what's wrong?" She turned to him, her face pale. "I remember something," she whispered. "I wasn't always a slave. Before the Cryans captured me, I was someone else." Jake set down the groceries and moved closer. "What do you remember?" "Numbers, equations. I see them in my head when I close my eyes. Complex formulas, physics, energy patterns." Her voice was shaking. "I think I was a scientist, but the memories are broken, like shattered glass. I can see the pieces, but I can't put them together." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "The Cryans did something to your memory?" "They wiped it," Lyria said. Her black eyes met his, and for the first time he saw fear in them, real, deep fear. "But they didn't do it perfectly. Fragments are coming back. And Jake, I think I was working on something important, something they wanted destroyed."
What kind of something? Lyria pressed her hands against her temples. I don't know, but it feels dangerous. It feels like if I remember too much, something terrible will happen. Over the next few days, more memories returned. Lyria would suddenly stop in the middle of tasks, frozen, her eyes distant. She would mutter equations under her breath. She drew strange symbols on paper, then stared at them like they were written in a language she had forgotten how to read. Jake watched her carefully. He had been a soldier, not a scientist, but he knew classified work when he saw it. Whatever Lyria had been working on, it was big, possibly dangerous, and someone wanted her to forget it badly enough to wipe her mind. On the 7th night, Lyria woke up screaming. Jake rushed to the bedroom and found her sitting up in bed, gasping for air. Her blue skin was covered in sweat, and her whole body was shaking. I remember what I did. Oh, stars, Jake, I remember. Tell me, Jake said, sitting beside her on the bed. Lyria's voice was hollow, broken. I was the lead scientist on the Valkyrie Quantum Collapse project. We were developing a weapon, not just any weapon, a planet killer. One shot could destroy an entire world. Tears ran down her blue cheeks. The Cryans attacked our research station. They killed everyone. They took me because I had the final calculations in my head. They tortured me for months trying to make me talk. When I wouldn't, they wiped my memory and made me a slave. Jake felt his blood run cold. Do you remember the calculations now? Pieces, not everything, but enough that someone might be able to reconstruct it. Jake grabbed his hand desperately. Jake, if the wrong people find out what I know, they'll kill me, or worse, they'll use me to build another weapon. The war might be over, but there are still people who would start a new one for power like this. We need to tell someone, Jake said. The coalition, maybe. They can protect you. No, Lyria said urgently. We can't trust anyone. If the Cryans gave me to you as a gift, they might be watching. They might know the memory wipe is failing. Jake wanted to argue, but something stopped him. A feeling, the same instinct that had kept him alive during the war, the feeling that danger was close. He stood up and walked to the window. The street below was quiet, too quiet for a city night. And there, parked across the street, was a black van that hadn't been there an hour ago. Lyria, Jake said quietly, get dressed, quickly, something's wrong. She didn't question him, she just moved fast, pulling on clothes. Jake grabbed his old service pistol from the closet and checked the clip, still loaded. He hadn't fired it since coming home, but his hands remembered the weight. They moved to the living room. Jake turned off all the lights and peered out through the curtains. The van's door opened silently. 4 figures stepped out. They wore dark clothes and carried weapons. Professional, military-grade equipment. Not police, not coalition soldiers. Mercenaries. They moved toward the building with the coordination of trained killers. Jake's heart hammered in his chest. They're coming, Jake whispered. Lyria's face went white. How did they find me so fast? Doesn't matter now, Jake said. He grabbed his phone and dialed emergency services. Dead. The line was cut. We need to go. The fire escape. Now. They ran to the bedroom window. Jake forced it open and helped Lyria climb out onto the rusty metal stairs. The night air was cold. Below them, the alley was dark and empty. They started climbing down as quietly as possible. They were halfway down when the apartment door exploded inward with a crash. Go! Go! Jake urged, pushing Lyria ahead of him. They hit the ground and ran. Behind them, Jake heard voices shouting and crying, heavy boots on metal stairs. They burst out of the alley onto the main street. A car screeched to a stop in front of them. The door opened, and a man in black tactical gear stepped out. He was huge, muscular, with cybernetic implants visible on his neck. He pointed a plasma rifle directly at Jake's chest. Give us the Valkyrie female, the mercenary said in accented English. His voice was calm, professional. Jake stepped in front of Lyria, shielding her with his body. Like hell it doesn't. The mercenary smiled coldly. Brave, but stupid. We're being paid 5 million credits for her, dead or alive. We'd prefer alive, but we're flexible." He raised the rifle. "Last chance, soldier. Give us the girl, or we kill you both right here on this street." Jake's mind raced. 4 mercenaries behind them in the building, this one in front, maybe more waiting nearby. No backup, no weapons except his pistol against plasma rifles. Lyria's hand gripped his arm, trembling. The mercenary's finger moved to the trigger. And then Lyria did something impossible. She stepped around Jake and spoke in perfect Cryan. Her voice was different, harder, commanding. The mercenary's eyes widened in shock. He lowered his rifle slightly, confusion crossing his face. "What did you say to him?" Jake whispered. Lyria's black eyes were cold now, calculating. "I told him the activation code for his cybernetic implants, code only Cryan military intelligence should know." She looked at the mercenary. "I know things, dangerous things, and if you kill me, that information dies too. But if you let us go, I'll tell you where the Cryan Imperial Bank keeps its war funds. 3 trillion credits, hidden, untraceable." "How do you know that?" the mercenary demanded. Lyria smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had just played their final card. "Because I'm not just a scientist. I was a Cryan intelligence asset, a spy, and everything I learned is still up here." She tapped her temple. "So ask yourself, is 5 million credits worth more than 3 trillion? The night was silent, except for the sound of weapons being raised all around them. The mercenary's expression changed. He lifted a communicator to his ear and spoke rapidly in Cryan. A pause, then his eyes locked on Lyria with a new kind of hunger. "Change of plan," he said coldly. "We're taking you both. Our employer will pay much more for what you know." He raised his rifle again. Jake's finger tightened on his pistol trigger, and then the world exploded in gunfire.
The gunfire lasted exactly 8 seconds. Jake threw Lyria to the ground and covered her body with his. Bullets screamed overhead, glass shattered, car alarms wailed. Jake squeezed his eyes shut, waiting for the pain of a plasma bolt burning through his back. But the pain never came. Instead, the shooting stopped, suddenly, completely. Jake lifted his head slowly and saw something impossible. All 4 mercenaries were on the ground, unconscious or dead. Their weapons lay scattered around them, and standing in the middle of the street was a figure in black armor holding 2 smoking plasma pistols. The figure's helmet retracted, folding back into the armor. A woman's face appeared. She was human, maybe 40 years old, with short gray hair and cold blue eyes. A scar ran down her left cheek. "Captain Morrison," the woman said calmly, like they were meeting for coffee instead of standing in a war zone. "You're even more trouble than I expected." Jake slowly stood up, pulling Lyria to her feet. His pistol was still in his hand, aimed at the woman. "Who are you?" "Commander Sarah Chen, Coalition Special Operations." She holstered her weapons. "I've been tracking these mercenaries for 3 weeks. They've killed 6 people already. You 2 just became targets 7 and 8. "Why are they after her?" Jake demanded, not lowering his weapon. Chen looked at Lyria with an expression Jake couldn't read. "Because someone wants what's in her head, and they're willing to burn down half the city to get it." Sirens wailed in the distance. Chen glanced at the approaching lights. "We need to move, now. More will come. The mercenaries were just the first wave." Jake didn't trust her, but he also didn't have many options. "Where?" "Somewhere safe, somewhere we can talk without plasma rifles pointed at your girlfriend." Chen smiled slightly. "Come on, soldier, I'm not your enemy, at least not yet." They climbed into Chen's armored vehicle. It was military grade, complete with bulletproof glass and electronic countermeasures. As they drove through the city streets, Jake kept his pistol ready, watching Chen carefully. "How did you find us?" he asked.
Your apartment was flagged 3 days ago, Chen said. Someone's been monitoring all Valkyrie gifts distributed to human officers. When the mercenaries started moving, I followed them. She glanced in the mirror at Lyria. You're popular, girl. Very popular. 5 different groups want you dead or captured. Care to tell me why? Lyria sat silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice steady now, stronger than before. Because I remember what I designed, and I remember where it is. Chen's hands tightened on the steering wheel. The weapon, the planet killer, it actually exists? Jake said sharply. Coalition intelligence knows everything, Captain, or at least we try to. Chen turned down a dark street, heading toward the industrial district. The underworld quantum collapse weapon, theoretical physics made real, one device that could crack a planet's core and tear it apart from the inside. The Cryans spent 2 years trying to find it after they destroyed the Valkyrie research station. They never did. Because I hid it, Lyria said quietly. Before they captured me, I knew they were coming. I had 10 minutes. I uploaded the weapon's location into my own neural implant, then activated a memory suppression protocol. I buried it so deep that even torture couldn't pull it out. You hid it inside your own mind? Jake stared. It was the only place they couldn't reach, Lyria said, but the suppression wasn't permanent. I always knew the memories would come back eventually. I just hoped I would be dead before they did. Chen parked the vehicle in front of an abandoned warehouse. Well, congratulations. You're alive, the memories are back, and now everyone wants you killed for them. Inside, quickly. The warehouse was dark and empty, except for a few crates and some old equipment. Chen led them to a back room that had been converted into a basic operations center. Computer monitors glowed in the darkness. Maps covered the walls. It looked like she had been working here for weeks. Sit, Chen ordered, pointing to 2 chairs. Jake remained standing. I don't take orders anymore. The war's over. The war is never over, Captain, Chen said tiredly. It just changes shape. Chen pulled up a holographic display. Images appeared in the air. Faces, dozens of them. These are the Valkyrie gifts distributed to human officers. Recognize any of them? Jake looked at the faces. They were all like Lyria. Blue skin, black eyes, thin and scared-looking. 23 have died in the past month, all ruled accidents or natural causes, but I know better. Someone is hunting them, systematically, efficiently, and the only reason you 2 are still alive is because you got lucky. Who's killing them? Jake demanded, not lowering his weapon. Chen looked at Lyria with an expression Jake couldn't read. Because someone wants what's in her head, and they're willing to burn down half the city to get it. Not just the Cryans, Chen said darkly. Coalition, independent contractors, even some human supremacist groups who don't want aliens on Earth. Everyone wants you dead for different reasons. You're not just carrying the location of a weapon, girl. You're carrying secrets that could restart the war. Then we destroy it, Jake said firmly. We find the weapon and destroy it. Problem solved. Chen laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think it's that simple? The weapon is hidden in the Caraxis system, deep in the neutral zone. That's enemy territory, Captain. Going there would be suicide. And even if you somehow survived, destroying it would create a power vacuum. Right now, everyone thinks the weapon might exist, so nobody makes a move. But if they know for certain it's gone, all bets are off. So what do you suggest? Jake asked coldly. We extract the information from her mind, copy it to Coalition secure servers, then we fake her death and put her in protective custody. You disappear, new identity, new life, and the weapon stays lost. No, Jake said immediately. She's not going into custody. I've seen Coalition black sites. That's just another kind of prison. I'm trying to save her life, Shen snapped. By making her a prisoner? By keeping her alive. They glared at each other. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Lyria stood up slowly. There's a third option, she said quietly. Both of them turned to look at her. I go to the weapon myself. I retrieve it, and I bring it back to Earth. Then we use it as leverage, not to destroy planets, but to force peace, a guarantee, mutually assured destruction. Nobody attacks if everyone knows the consequences. That's insane, Chen said flatly. That's brilliant, Jake countered. It's the same strategy humanity used with nuclear weapons centuries ago. Nuclear weapons didn't crack planets in half. The principle is the same, Lyria insisted. Right now, the weapon is a ghost, a rumor. That makes it useless as a deterrent. But if we control it, if we prove it exists and works, then everyone has to think twice before starting another war. Chen shook her head. Coalition would never approve this. You'd be labeled a terrorist, both of you. I don't care what they label me, Jake said. This is the right thing to do. The right thing? Chen's voice rose. You're talking about stealing the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. To save lives, Jake said quietly. How many more Velkhari will die if we do nothing? How many more wars will start because nobody's afraid anymore? The room fell silent. Chen stared at them both for a long moment. Finally, she sighed and rubbed her eyes. You're both crazy, absolutely insane. Maybe, Jake said, but we're right. Chen looked at her monitors, then back at them. Something in her expression changed. It became colder, more calculated. You really want to do this? You really want to go after the weapon? Yes, Lyria said firmly. Then you'll need help, Chen said. She pulled out a communicator and pressed a button. This is Chen. Bring him in. The warehouse door opened. Footsteps echoed across the empty space. A figure stepped into the doorway, silhouetted against the lights from outside. Jake's breath caught in his throat. He knew that walk. He knew that shape. The figure stepped into the light, and Jake saw his face. Marcus Reed, Jake's best friend from the war, the man who had saved Jake's life on 3 separate occasions, the man Jake trusted more than anyone in the universe. Jake, Marcus grinned, walking forward with his arms open. Brother, it's been too long. Jake smiled, relief flooding through him. Marcus, what are you doing here? Chen called me, said you were in trouble, said you needed someone you could trust. Marcus pulled Jake into a tight hug, then stepped back and looked at Lyria. This must be the girl everyone's talking about. Nice to meet you. Lyria nodded quietly. Jake felt like a weight had lifted off his shoulders. With Marcus here, everything would be okay. Marcus was brilliant, resourceful, loyal. If anyone could help them reach the weapon safely, it was Marcus. So what's the plan? Marcus asked, still smiling. Chen says you're going after something big. I'm in. Whatever it is, count me in. Chen pulled up a star map. The weapon is hidden in the Caraxis system, deep in the neutral zone. We'll need a ship, supplies, and someone who knows how to navigate cryon space without getting killed. I know a smuggler, Marcus said immediately. Owes me a favor. She can get us through. They spent the next hour planning.
Time seemed to freeze. Chen's weapon was steady, aimed at the 3 of them. Jake's hand slowly moved toward his own pistol, but Chen shook her head. Don't, Captain. I'm faster than you, and we both know it. What is this? Jake demanded. You said you wanted to help us. I said a lot of things, Chen replied coldly. Doesn't mean any of them were true. She pressed a button on her wrist communicator. Target acquired. 3 subjects, requesting extraction team. A voice crackled through the speaker. Copy that, Commander. Team arriving in 5 minutes. Jake's blood ran cold. You're not Coalition Special Operations, are you? Chen smiled, but it was a cruel smile. Oh, I am. Just not the Coalition you think. There's a shadow division, Captain, one that doesn't appear on any official records. We handle the problems that can't be solved with treaties and diplomacy. And right now, the 3 of you are a very big problem. You were never going to help us, Lyria said quietly. Correct. I was going to extract the weapon's location from your brain, then eliminate all 3 of you. Clean, simple, no loose ends. Chen glanced at her watch. But then Marcus here had to go soft, change the timeline. Doesn't matter. The end result is the same. Marcus raised his gun, but his hand was still shaking. I won't let them hurt them. With what? That gun you can barely hold steady? Chen laughed. Face it, Reed, you're broken. A man who would sell out his best friend for money isn't a soldier anymore. You're just a desperate father who made all the wrong choices. Marcus flinched like he'd been slapped. Jake's mind raced. 5 minutes. They had 5 minutes before Chen's team arrived. After that, it was over. He needed a plan, a distraction, something, anything. And then the lights went out. The entire warehouse plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered but didn't come on. Someone had cut the power completely. Chen cursed and fired blindly. Plasma bolts lit up the darkness in brilliant flashes. Jake grabbed Lyria and dove behind a stack of crates. Marcus rolled in the opposite direction. "Move," Jake hissed, pulling Lyria deeper into the warehouse. They ran through the darkness, stumbling over equipment and debris. Behind them, Chen shouted orders into her communicator. "Lights! I need lights! And seal all exits!" Jake's combat training kicked in. He had fought in dark tunnels on alien worlds. He knew how to navigate without sight. He pulled Lyria toward where he remembered seeing a back door. They were almost there when a figure stepped out of the shadows in front of them. Jake raised his pistol, but the figure spoke first. "Don't shoot, Captain. I'm here to help." The voice was female, young, with a strange accent. Emergency lights finally flickered on, dim and red. Jake saw the speaker clearly now. She was Valkyrie, like Lyria, blue skin, black eyes, silver markings, but she wore combat armor, military grade, and carried weapons that looked cryon but modified. She moved like a soldier, a very dangerous soldier. "Who are you?" Jake demanded. "My name is Kira, and I've been looking for Lyria for a very long time." Lyria gasped. "Kira? You're alive? I thought you died when the cryons attacked the station." "I survived, barely." Kira's expression was hard. "I've been hunting for you ever since. The cryons scattered us across the galaxy, but I found 12 others. We've been tracking the ones they gave away as gifts, trying to save them before the assassins arrived." "You cut the power," Jake said. "And jammed their communications," Kira confirmed. "But it won't last long. Chen's team is already surrounding the building. We need to leave now." Gunfire erupted from the front of the warehouse. Marcus's voice shouted through the darkness. "Jake, go! I'll hold them off!" "Marcus, no!" Jake yelled back. But Marcus was already firing, his shots creating a wall of light and sound. Jake heard Chen cursing, her team taking cover. Kira grabbed Jake's arm. "Your friend is buying us time. Don't waste it. This way." She led them through a hidden door Jake hadn't noticed before. They emerged into a narrow alley behind the warehouse. A vehicle was waiting, sleek and black, clearly alien technology. "Get in," Kira ordered. They climbed inside. The interior was cramped but sophisticated. Holographic displays showed the area around them, marked with red dots, enemy positions. Kira jumped into the driver's seat, and the vehicle lifted off the ground, hovering silently. "Hold on." They shot forward with incredible speed, weaving through narrow alleys and streets. Behind them, plasma fire lit up the night sky. Chen's team had spotted them. "They're following," Lyria shouted. "I know," Kira said calmly. Her hands moved over the controls with practiced ease. The vehicle spun, dove, and accelerated in ways that defied physics. Jake's stomach lurched, but they stayed ahead of their pursuers. After 10 minutes of intense maneuvering, Kira finally slowed down. They were in the industrial district, far from the warehouse. She parked inside an abandoned factory and killed the engine. "We're safe, for now." Jake's heart was still pounding. What about Marcus? Kira looked at him with something like sympathy. If he's smart, he'll surrender. Chen won't kill him. He's too valuable as bait. "Bait for what?" Jake asked. "For you," Kira said simply. She turned to look at Lyria. "We need to talk, alone." "Anything you say to her, you say to me," Jake said firmly. Kira studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Very well. Captain Morrison, how much has Lyria told you about the weapon?" "Everything. It's a planet killer, hidden in the Caraxes system." "Did she tell you why the cryons really wanted it?" Jake frowned. "To win the war." "Wrong." Kira's eyes were intense. The cryons already had planet killers. Their fleet could glass any world they wanted. They didn't need our weapon for destruction. They needed it for something else, something far more valuable. Lyria had gone very pale. "Kira, don't!" "He deserves to know the truth," Kira interrupted. She looked at Jake.
The quantum collapse weapon doesn't just destroy planets, Captain. It opens them, like cracking open a nut to get at the meat inside. And what's at the center of every planet in this galaxy? Jake felt a chill run down his spine. You can't be serious. Quantum cores, Kira said. Pure energy, enough to power a civilization for 1,000 years. One planet's core could make the Cryan Empire invincible. They could build fleets that never run out of fuel, weapons that never stop firing. They would become unstoppable. That's why they wanted the weapon, Jake said slowly. Not to destroy their enemies, to harvest power. Exactly, Kira looked at Lyria. And it's also why Lyria hid it, because in the wrong hands, that weapon wouldn't end wars. It would start an endless war. Every species in the galaxy fighting over quantum cores, planets destroyed not for conquest, but for fuel. Turned to Lyria. Is this true? Lyria couldn't meet his eyes. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't tell you everything. I was afraid you wouldn't help me if you knew the whole truth. So what's your plan? Jake asked quietly. You said you wanted to retrieve it, use it as a deterrent, but if it's really that valuable, then everyone will try to take it from us, Lyria finished. Yes, I know. That's why we can't just retrieve it, Jake. We have to destroy it, completely. Make sure it can never be used by anyone. But your memories, Jake said, you still know how to build it. Lyria touched her temple. Not for long. There's a final suppression protocol, permanent this time. Once I activate it, the knowledge will be gone forever. I'll never be able to recreate the weapon, but I have to do it at the weapon's location. The protocol requires a specific quantum signature to work properly. Kira leaned forward. That's what I've been trying to tell you. 12 other Velkari scientists survived. All of them have fragments of the weapon's design in their memories. If the Cryans capture all of us, they could piece together enough to rebuild it. That's why they're hunting us. That's why Chen wants you. How many are left? Jake asked. 8, including Lyria. The rest are dead. Kira's voice was hollow. We're running out of time. Every day more of us are found and killed. If we're going to destroy the weapon and erase the knowledge forever, we need to do it now, before it's too late. Jake looked at both of them. What you need from me? A ship, Kira said, and someone the other Velkari can trust. You saved Lyria, protected her when you could have turned her over to Coalition. That means something to us. If you help us reach the weapon, help us destroy it, the others will follow your lead. Where are they? Hidden across 3 systems. I can contact them, but getting everyone to the Caraxes system without being detected. Kira shook her head. That's almost impossible. Nothing's impossible, Jake said, just difficult, and I'm good at difficult. For the first time, Kira smiled. It transformed her face, made her look younger, less hardened. Lyria was right about you. You really are different from other humans. Jake's communicator suddenly buzzed. He pulled it out carefully. A message appeared on the screen, scrambled and encrypted, but Jake recognized the code, Military Emergency Protocol. He decoded it quickly. The message was from Marcus. Jake, they have me. Chen says if you don't surrender in 24 hours, she'll start broadcasting your location to everyone hunting Lyria, every merc, every bounty hunter, every government agency. You'll be hunted across the entire galaxy. Get out while you can. Save her. I'm sorry. M. He showed the message to the others. It's a trap, Kira said immediately. Chen's probably tracking that message right now. Maybe, Jake said, but Marcus is my friend. I can't just abandon him. He betrayed you once, Kira pointed out. And then he saved us, Jake countered. People make mistakes, but they also get chances to fix them. Lyria touched his arm. Jake, we don't have time to rescue him. We need to reach the weapon before... She stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes went distant, unfocused. She swayed on her feet. Lyria, Jake grabbed her shoulders. What's wrong? When she spoke again, her voice was strange.
The warehouse shook. Not from an explosion, from something worse. Reality itself was trembling. Jake felt it in his bones, a deep wrongness that made his teeth ache and his vision blur. Lyria collapsed completely, her body going limp in Jake's arms. The blue glow in her eyes was spreading, crawling across her skin like electric veins. She was changing, transforming into something that wasn't quite alive anymore. "We need to get her to a medical facility," Jake shouted. "No facility can help her now." Kira said grimly. She's becoming the weapon. The quantum link is consuming her. In hours, maybe less, she'll be completely gone, just a living extension of that thing in Caraxes. Jake refused to accept it. Then we stop it. We go to Caraxes and we shut the weapon down. With what ship? What crew? Kira gestured angrily at the empty factory around them. We're 3 people being hunted by every military force in the galaxy. Chen has your friend Marcus. The weapon is already activated and spreading death across space. We've lost, Captain. The war is over, and this time humanity loses. No. The voice was weak but firm. Lyria stirred in Jake's arms, her glowing eyes focusing on them. There's still a way. One last chance. But Jake... She reached up and touched his face with trembling fingers. You're not going to like it. Tell me, Jake said quietly. Lyria's voice was getting weaker, more distant. The weapon responds to its guardians. I can feel it calling to me, trying to pull me in completely. But that connection goes both ways. If we can gather all 8 remaining guardians, all of us together, we might be able to override the activation sequence, force it to reverse the quantum collapse. Might? Kira said sharply. The weapon was never meant to be activated this way. The Cryans forced it open like animals breaking into a cage. Everything is unstable. But if all 8 guardians connect simultaneously, Lyria closed her eyes, we could collapse the shockwave inward instead of outward, contain the destruction to the Caraxes system only. Jake felt a cold weight in his stomach. What happens to the guardians? Lyria opened her eyes and looked at him with infinite sadness. We become the collapse, all 8 of us, pulled into the quantum singularity. Our consciousness, our bodies, everything will exist in a state between life and death forever, aware, trapped, alone in the dark. The factory was silent, except for the hum of distant machinery. There has to be another way, Jake said desperately. There isn't. Lyria's voice was hollow. This is what we were designed for, Jake. The ultimate failsafe. If the weapon ever threatened the galaxy, the Guardians would sacrifice themselves to stop it. We always knew. From the moment they bonded us to it, we knew how this would end. Kira had gone very pale. I'm a Guardian too. I've been running from it for so long, I almost forgot, but I can feel it now. That pull, that terrible connection. She looked at Jake. She's right. This is the only way. Jake stood up, still holding Lyria in his arms. No, I don't accept that. There's always another way. We just need time to find it. We don't have time, Kira shouted. In 6 months, Earth dies. In 6 hours, Lyria will be completely consumed. We need to move now. Jake's mind raced. Kira was right. They needed to act immediately. But something didn't add up. Something Chen had said. Something about shadow divisions and problems that couldn't be solved with diplomacy. The coalition knew, Jake said slowly. That's why Chen was really after us. Not to extract the weapon's location, to extract the Guardians, all of them. She was going to force this solution herself. So? Kira said impatiently. So she has resources, ships, technology, information. Jake looked at both of them. And she has Marcus, which means she knows how to reach the other Guardians too. Lyria stirred weakly. You want to work with Chen after she tried to kill us? No, Jake said with a cold smile. I want to take everything she has, and I know exactly how to do it. 40 minutes later. The Coalition detention facility was a fortress, 30-foot walls, guard towers, automated defense systems. It was designed to keep the galaxy's most dangerous criminals locked inside. Jake, Lyria, and Kira stood on a rooftop 2 blocks away, watching through electronic binoculars. This is suicide, Kira said flatly. Even if we get inside, we'll never get out alive. We're not going inside, Jake said. He pulled out his communicator and dialed a number he had memorized years ago. A voice answered immediately. Morrison, is that you? Where the hell are you? It was Commander Hayes, the same man who had given Lyria to Jake as a gift weeks ago.
Hayes, I need a favor, Jake said calmly. A favor? You're wanted by Coalition Intelligence. There's a shoot-on-sight order. If I even talk to you... The galaxy is ending, Jake interrupted. The Valkyrie weapon was activated. Quantum collapse is spreading. Earth has 6 months, maybe less. Check your sensors. Check the Caraxes system. Then tell me I'm lying. There was a long pause. Jake heard typing in the background. Then Hayes cursed viciously. What the hell is happening? The readings are off the charts. The entire system is... Oh God, this is real. This is actually happening. I can stop it, Jake said, but I need your help. Commander Chen has a prisoner, Marcus Reed. I need him released now. Chen answers to people way above my pay grade, Morrison. I can't just... Then find someone who can, Jake said coldly, because in 6 months your family dies, your friends die, everything dies, so you can either help me save them or you can follow orders and watch the world end. Your choice. Another long pause. Then Hayes spoke, his voice different now, determined. Give me 10 minutes. The line went dead. That's your plan? Make a phone call and hope for the best? Kira said. No, that's phase 1. Phase 2 is more direct. He pointed at the detention facility. At that exact moment, alarms started blaring. Emergency lights flashed. Guards ran in multiple directions, shouting into radios. What did you do? Lyria whispered. Jake smiled grimly. I called Hayes from a compromised line. Chen's people traced it instantly. They think we're about to attack the facility from the east side. All security is moving there right now. But we're not attacking, Kira said slowly. No, we're walking in through the front door while everyone's distracted. Jake started moving toward the fire escape. Come on, we have about 3 minutes before they realize it's a diversion. They descended rapidly and ran across the street. The main entrance was almost unguarded now, with most security pulled to the east perimeter. Jake walked up to the single remaining guard, a young man who looked terrified. Captain Morrison, Coalition Special Forces, Emergency Evacuation Protocol. I need access to prisoner Marcus Reed immediately. The guard hesitated, his hand on his weapon. Sir, I don't have authorization. Jake stepped closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Son, the galaxy is ending. Right now, this very second. You can check procedures and let everyone die, or you can open that door and maybe, just maybe, help save them. What's it going to be? The guard stared at Jake's face. Whatever he saw there made him make a decision. He swiped his access card. The door clicked open. Detention level 3, cell 14, the guard said quietly. Go. They ran inside. The facility was chaos, guards running everywhere, prisoners shouting, alarms screaming. In the confusion, 3 more people moving quickly through the halls barely registered. They found cell 14. Marcus was inside, sitting on a metal bench. His face was bruised, one eye swollen shut. When he saw Jake, he stood up slowly. You came, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I told you, Jake said, working on the cell lock with a code breaker Kira had provided. We fix our mistakes together. The lock clicked open. Marcus stepped out and grabbed Jake in a fierce hug. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know, Jake said. Now let's go save the galaxy. They were halfway back to the entrance when Commander Chen stepped into the corridor ahead. She wasn't alone. 20 soldiers in full combat armor stood behind her, weapons raised. End of the line, Morrison, Chen said coldly. I have to admit, the diversion was clever, but predictable. I've been watching you, learning how you think. I knew you'd come for your friend. Jake didn't move. Let us pass, Chen. This is bigger than your shadow division, bigger than protocols. The weapon is active. The galaxy is dying. I know, Chen said, which is exactly why you're not leaving. You have 2 guardians with you. I have files on the locations of 3 more. Together, we can gather enough to attempt the reversal protocol. Attempt? Jake said sharply. 73% probability. Good odds considering the alternative is 100% extinction. And the Guardians? What happens to them? Chen's face was stone. They die, or worse, but 8 lives to save trillions, that's an acceptable cost. Jake felt Lyria's hand grip his arm. She was shaking, but her voice was steady. If we refuse, then I shoot Captain Morrison and his friend. Then I take you and Kira by force. Chen